The Jade Capital was a masterpiece of arrogance. As Fen, Yuna, and Kael approached the city gates disguised as traveling merchants, under the cover of a merchant caravan's dust, they were greeted by walls of white marble veined with real gold. Tiered pagodas rose into the sky like jagged teeth, draped in silk banners that fluttered in the mountain breeze. The air here didn't smell of wet earth or mine soot. It smelled of expensive sandalwood incense and the cloying sweetness of overripe fruit. But the heavenly ledger saw the truth. Scanning Jade Capital, environmental analysis. Structure, built upon the foundations of a buried wolf city. Chi flow, artificially channeled. The city is a chi siphon, draining the vitality of the surrounding lands to sustain the elite. Observation: the gold on the walls is polished with the tears of the enslaved. "Keep your hood low, Fen," Kael whispered, his hand resting on the hilt of a concealed dagger. "The hounds at the gate have a nose for wild chi. Move like a sheep, or we won't make it past the inner sanctum." They passed through the district of favored beasts. Here, cat-and-bells in translucent silks lounged in tea-houses, and crane-and-bells recited poetry in manicured gardens. But as they moved deeper, the servant alleys appeared, narrow, dark corridors where rabbit and mouse and-bells worked until their paws bled, maintaining the luxury above. Fen's jaw tightened. They've built a paradise on a graveyard, and they will kill anyone who tries to wake them from the dream, Yuna added softly. Her amber eyes were hidden behind a veil, but her hand was steady on Fen's arm, sensing the rising heat of his silver chi. They reached their contact, an old owl and bell, named Master Hoot, a former imperial historian who had been retired, exiled to the slums, for suggesting that the wolf race's history had been tampered with. "You're a fool, Fen," Hoot wheezed, his feathers dusty and gray in the dim light of his cellar library. "The High Animal Court isn't a place of justice. It's a theater. Lord Shen is the director, the lead actor, and the judge." "I have the ledger," Fen said, the scroll appearing for a brief, blinding moment. Hoot's large eyes went wide. He fell to his knees, his beak trembling. "The pact, it still exists? Then you aren't just here for a trial. You're here for a revolution." The day of the hearing arrived with a heavy, oppressive fog. Fen stood before the towering iron doors of the court, dressed in the traditional white and silver robes of a wolf scholar, a ghost of a rank that hadn't officially existed for a century. As the doors groaned open, the sheer scale of the hall was designed to make one feel small. Dozens of representatives from the noble races sat in a rising amphitheater. At the center sat the three high judges, a massive bear, a cold-eyed eagle, and the empty seat of the Arbiter of the North. And then there was Lord Shen. The Serpent Anbel didn't sit on a throne. He coiled upon a raised platform of green jade. His scales were a shimmering, hypnotic gold, and his eyes were vertical slits of pure emerald. He didn't wear armor, only robes of flowing black silk that seemed to absorb the light. "The Alpha of the Remnant," Shen whispered. His voice was soft, like the rustle of dry leaves, yet it carried to every corner of the hall. "A slave who found a dusty toy and thinks himself a king. Tell me, little dog, why should I not have you put down for the theft of Imperial Spirit Stones?" Fen stepped into the center of the hall, his boots echoing on the polished floor. He felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, most filled with mockery, some with a flickering, secret hope. Trial of the tongue, commencing. Primary adversary, Lord Shen. Passive ability, Serpent's Guile. All lies told by Shen sound like absolute truth to those with weak qi. Objective: maintain the truth of the pact without losing your temper. I am not here to answer for stones, Fen said, his voice ringing with a resonance that caused the Eagle Judge to blink. I am here to challenge the extermination decree. By the laws of the primordial pact, no race can be condemned to extinction without proof of a blight sin. Where is the proof against the wolves, Lord Shen? Shen smiled, revealing needle-thin fangs. The proof is in your nature, Fen. You are predators who forgot your place. You are a blight because you refused to be a tool. For hours, the trial was a war of words. Shen was a master of the tongue. He didn't argue that the wolves were evil. He argued that they were obsolete. The world has changed, Fen, Shen said, sliding down from his platform with a fluid, terrifying grace. The pact was for a wild world. We have a civilization now, a hierarchy. The wolves are like the winter, cold, harsh, and unnecessary in a land of eternal spring. To allow you to exist is to allow the chaos of the past back into our homes. The hierarchy you speak of is a cage, Fen countered. He gestured to the gallery. You starve the many to feed the few. You broke the pact not to build a civilization, but to build a prison where you hold the keys, the Bear Judge growled. The wolf speaks of cages. You who led a violent revolt at the Iron Hoof. You who murdered General Bale. I defended my pack from a butcher, Fen shouted. Warning, emotion levels rising. Qi instability detected. Advice, Shen is baiting you. If you strike out in anger, the extermination decree will be ratified immediately as a measure of public safety. Fen took a deep breath, the shattered moon breathing technique, calming his heart. He looked Shen in the eye. If I am the chaos you fear, then why do you tremble at the sight of this? Fen raised his hand, and the heavenly ledger manifested in full glory. It didn't just glow. It projected a holographic record of the Great Purge, the images of Shen's soldiers burning nurseries and executing surrendering elders. The hall went dead silent. The truth was being projected onto the very walls of the Empire's heart. Shen's expression didn't change, but his tail flicked, a sign of genuine irritation. Illusions and shadow plays. Magic is the refuge of the desperate. He turned to the judges. Since the prisoner refuses to acknowledge the law, let us move to the trial of recognition. If he can survive the Emperor's justice, perhaps we shall consider a stay of execution for his village. The trial of recognition took place in the grand arena beneath the court. It was a pit of sand and blood, surrounded by high walls where the nobles could watch the sport. You won't be fighting me, Fen, Shen said from the high balcony. That would be unseemly. Instead, meet the Iron Colossus. The gates across the arena ground open. Out stepped a rhinoceros Anbel, 10 feet tall and encased in black iron armor that left only his red, frenzied eyes visible. He carried a flail the size of a carriage wheel, and his qi was a muddy, crushing brown. This is Zuro, Shen whispered. He was the one who leveled your azure temple. If you can defeat him, I will grant your people lesser citizen status. Fen knew it was a lie. Even if he won, Shen would find another way. But he had to win to give Kael and Yuna time to execute their part of the plan. Combat log, Fen versus Zuro the Colossus. Enemy style, earth-crushing path. Difficulty, extreme. Condition, do not kill. If you kill a champion of the court, you prove Shen's point that wolves are mindless killers. The duel was a spectacle of speed versus power. Zuro's flail shattered the stone floor with every swing, sending shards of marble flying like shrapnel. Fen moved like a ghost, using lunar veil to stay just inches ahead of the destruction. "Stand still, dog!" Zuro bellowed, his voice a literal shockwave. Fen didn't respond. He was counting. He was waiting for the moment when Zuro's heavy armor became his own prison. As the rhino lunged for a final crushing blow, Fen didn't dodge. He used the waxing moon, redirect technique. He caught the chain of the flail, let the momentum spin him around Zuro's massive neck, and struck 3 precise chi points on the rhino's spine using the azure wolf tooth. Zuro didn't die. He simply collapsed, his nerves temporarily paralyzed. The arena went silent. Fen stood over the fallen giant, his chest heaving, his silver fur stained with sand, but not blood. He looked up at Shen. "The wolf has won," Fen said, his voice echoing. "Now honor the law." Lord Shen didn't clap. He didn't scowl. He simply stood up and pulled a scroll of black parchment from his sleeve. "The law has been honored, Fen," Shen said, his voice dripping with mock pity. "The trial of recognition has proven that you are indeed a formidable threat to the peace of the Empire. Therefore, by the unanimous vote of the High Animal Court, which I have just received, the extermination decree is not only ratified, it is accelerated." "What?" Fen gasped. "Even as we speak," Shen continued, "the Golden Claw Legion is marching toward the Mist Vale Ravine. Your Silver Leaf Village will be a pile of ash by sunset tomorrow, and you will be the one to watch it burn from the high towers of the capital." Fen felt a cold, sharp pain in his chest, but then he saw a signal from the gallery. Yuna, disguised as a servant, held up a small, glowing jade pendant, the pack link. "Fen, we're out." Her voice echoed in his mind, through the ledger. Master Hoot found the secret tunnels. Kael has the scrolls. We're leaving the capital. Get out of there. Fen looked at Shen, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across his face. "You think you've won because you have a decree, Shen? You have the walls, you have the gold, but you don't have the people." Fen reached for the heavenly ledger. "Ledger! Final protocol. Moonlight shatter." The magic scroll erupted in a blinding flash of silver light, so bright it blinded the judges and the nobles. The light didn't just illuminate. It physicalized, shattering the glass domes of the arena and creating a bridge of solid chi leading over the city walls. "This isn't a trial anymore, Shen," Fen roared as he leapt onto the bridge. "This is a war." Fen escaped the capital under the cover of the chaos, meeting Yuna and Kael at the city's edge. But the victory was hollow. The Legion was already on the move. "We can't go back to Silverleaf," Kael said, his face grim. "If we do, we'll just be cornered in a bowl." Fen looked toward the north, toward the jagged white-capped peaks of the Frost Peak Mountains. "We aren't going back to Silverleaf. We're going to fetch the villagers, and we're going where the Empire can't follow. We're going to the frozen north." Part 4. The Serpent's Tongue, complete. New objective: the Great Migration. Urgency: maximum. The Legion is 12 hours behind.